Everyone loves a freshly cut apple. Of course, until it starts to brown. When an apple is cut or bruised, PPO or polyphenol oxidase enzymes in the chloroplast rapidly oxidize compounds in the apple tissues and cause the plant to brown. Engineers were able to genetically modify this apple and cut off the PPO enzyme.
This enzyme is responsible for the production of melanin, which is the browning agent. Although apples have developed this for protection, it is not seen as a favorable trait. In fact, apples are one of the most wasted food products today for this very reason.
Currently, the pre-cut apple industry has developed a few tactics to help combat problems with browning. Soaking apple slices in lemon juice or absorbic acid can denature the melanin in the apple, cutting back on apple browning. These solutions, however, are costly and tend to alter the flavor and texture of the apples.
GMO technologies can add up to $132 million to the U.S. apple industry over the next 35 years. Because less acres will be needed to meet demand, the use of chemicals and fertilizers would be cut drastically.
Many people are upset about this development, though. They believe that humans are the guinea pigs for these biotech apples because they will not be labeled as GMO.
For millennia, what makes a so-called genetically modified organism, or GMO, different? Selective breeding is basically hoping for lucky hits. Genetic engineering eliminates this factor. We can choose the traits we want, make fruit grow bigger, immune to pests, and so on. So why are people concerned about them? Let's start with one of the most common objections to GMOs. Gene flow, meaning GM crops could mix with traditional crops and introduce unwanted new characteristics into them. There is a method that might guarantee complete prevention, but is a big anti-GMO argument by itself: Terminator seeds. The idea is that they could produce sterile plants, requiring farmers to buy new seeds every year. The very concept of this, however, caused a public outcry, stopping the technology being put to use. This brings us back to the unintentional spreading of engineered DNA. There have been cases of GMOs growing where they weren't planted and traces of modified genes found in foreign crops. But GM plants can't run wild entirely. Many crops pollinate themselves, and all crops have to be related to mingle. There are also cultural methods like buffer zones to keep unintentional crossing at a minimum. But if it's possible in principle that a GMO could unintentionally cross with a non-GMO, there's actually a more important question. Is food that comes from GM crops different to food from non-GM crops? This question has been a major concern from the very beginning. GM plants that are destined to be eaten are checked for possible dangers, and the results are evaluated by multiple agencies. After more than 30 years and thousands of studies, the science is in. Eating GMO plants is no more risky than their non-GMO equivalent. But don't just take our word.
So if science has proven genetically modified products to be 100% risk-free, why are people still so concerned about the Arctic apple? It is human nature to fear the unknown. Misinformation or lack of information completely can turn people away from GM products, such as the Arctic apple.
With the correct information and proper product research, a consumer can understand that the Arctic apple, from a health perspective, is no different than that of a traditional apple.
Consumer acceptance of the Arctic apple can open people's minds to the world of genetically modified products, helping us to better feed today's growing population.